Governors under the platform of the PDP Governors Forum say they will leave no stone unturned until the crisis rocking the party is resolved. This was part of the forum's resolutions after a closed-door meeting it held in Asaba, the Delta State capital, on Friday. The meeting comes barely 2 days after the party's BOT meeting was marred by rowdy scenes after supporters of Senator Samuel Anyanwu allegedly attacked the party's former youth leader Sunday Ude Okoye.
I welcome all of you, especially my brother governors and your entourage, to Delta State. Here is the big hat. This state banquet is not the place for long speeches. It is an avenue to fellowship and share banter. It gives us all the opportunity.
Now joining us, our correspondent Austin Azu joins us live from Asaba to bring us up to speed with the developments at the Governors Forum meeting. Austin, good to have you here this afternoon. Please, if you will, a quick update on the developments from the meeting, please.
Folks, good afternoon. We are still here at Government House in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Behind me, you can see some vehicular movements coming outside the Government House, the main complex where the event was held. And of course, a lot of persons are still making their way out of the Government House premises. Earlier on, the PDP Governors Forum had a meeting here at Government House where they look at the issues affecting the party and, of course, reviewing the 2024 economic activities of the President's administration and chart a way forward to the party, which they believe in the next election they might have a chance of returning back to seat of power. But some of the issues highlighted from the communique issued at the end of the PDP Governors Forum's meeting, led by the chairman, that's Bala Mohammed, the Bauchi State Governor, reiterated the fact that one, President Bola Tinubu needs to review his economic policies, identifying some of the challenges Nigerians are facing. Secondly, that the NWC crisis, of course, that they will obey the appeal court judgments. However, they intend to hold the NWC meeting, which they have scheduled to come up on March 13th. However, they equally appeal to Nigerians to be patient while they would like to work together for the peace and unity of their party to ensure they are able to, sail back to power in the next next election. One issue that remained very silent from the discussion when journalists ask questions about the PDP governors, are they not standing for themselves? Noting that one of them in recent times has faced some serious challenges from his state. And of course, the chairman of the Governors Forum told journalists that they are in unity, that of course the matter before court, they can't discuss it. That's one of the reasons why they didn't delve into the issues. However, they're equally suing for peace in the party, because since on Wednesday that the party had some challenges regarding the insecurity challenges, that they will work together to see that the issues that led to the crisis at the Wadada Plaza is being resolved. But by and large, they are insisting that the party will bounce back. Only they are asking for unity of the party and cooperation of members of the party for them to work together tirelessly to ensure they are able to achieve the needed development in the party. And other issues crept up as well, the issue of reviewing the past administration, where they appraised themselves, the governors appraised themselves that yes, they have done very well, that insisting that it's only then the governors of the PDP who can actually perform to their own satisfaction. Awesome. These are lots more that we have discussed at the end of the PDP Governors Forum here in Asaba.
Well, congratulations to them for thinking that they've done so well. But then again, there are other issues that journalists especially, were very, very curious about regarding the National Secretary. Have they resolved who exactly the National Secretary of the PDP is currently?
Well, the question was equally asked, and the chairman told journalists that the matter is before the courts, and of course they will obey the appeal court judgment. It seems appeal court has given a judgment on it already, that they will obey that particular judgment, while they are suing for peace among members for the party to move ahead. But at the end of the day, they scheduled a NEC meeting that they are proposing on March 13th. Hope to deal with some of those issues that has to do with the NWC crisis, which they believe that the scheduled meeting will be able to, resolve them. And going forward too, that they hope to have a Congress very soon that will be able to have a substantive leadership in place that will pilot the affairs of the party in the coming days.
Okay, and what about the way forward for the PDP? What have they agreed to do when it comes to the PDP and the outlook for 2025 up until 2027? What is their stance on implementing that democracy that they spoke about?
Well, their firm beliefs remains the fact that they must be united first before they will begin to talk about, moving towards the next political dispensation. However, you know quite well that the crisis rocking the party at the moment seems not to be well with the main opposition party, and they seems not to be playing the very crucial role expected of them to be a voice, and of course to bring the government to some of the policies and direct some questions that needed to be answered from the current administration. So only what they are asking, if only they will have members that will be able to toe the path of peace and seek justice at the relevant quarters, not disrupting the processes. And of course, one case is that of the one that happened in Abuja on Wednesday, where we had some fracas and some crisis. And the governors, PDP Governors Forum's chairman reaffirms the commitment of their members to work together to ensure they are able to return back to power in the next election, so that they are able to, take Nigeria back to where it was before the current party took Nigeria to where it is at the moment. Of course, they equally express the pains that Nigerians are going through, and that is why they called on the President Bola-led administration to review most of his microeconomic policies. And of course, if needs be, those microeconomic policies that are not favorable to the fragile economy that some Nigerians are passing through, that need to be scrapped.
Well, alrighty then. Thank you very much, then, Austin Azu, for giving us the update on the situation. And of course, we'll be coming to you for more on this, even up until after this period. Thank you very much. Moving on now, Peter Obi, the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, has criticized former Osun State Governor Bisi Akande for linking the 2020 EndSARS protests to Obi's supporters, known as Obidients. Akande, in a podcast, claimed the protests were orchestrated to undermine President Bola Tinubu's presidential bid, alleging foreign funding behind the movement. In response, Obi's media aide Umar Ibrahim rejected Akande's claims, calling them misleading and divisive. He emphasized that the EndSARS protests were a spontaneous outcry against police brutality, corruption, and systemic inequality, and not politically motivated, and urged leaders to focus on addressing Nigeria's current socio-economic challenges instead of spreading misinformation. In the same vein, the national coordinator of the Obedient movement worldwide, Tanko Yunusa, called Akande's statement an affront to the memory of all those who lost their lives during the EndSARS protests. Let's now bring you the news of a tragedy that struck in Lagos early on Friday morning when a suspected drunken driver rammed into a unit of soldiers performing morning physical training at the Myong Barracks Army Sports Camp. It is still unclear as to whether there are or were casualties and what has become of the driver of the vehicle. The incident has caused some panic among family members of the affected soldiers, with many hoping that their loved ones were not affected. Our correspondent Bernard Akande was at the scene of the incident. He brought us this report.
where the affected soldiers had been taken to, and that's in Yaba. We got there and we were told that yes, the incident that you just narrated did happen. A vehicle ran into a group of soldiers that were going on routine route march that they have, and some soldiers were affected. We don't have the exact numbers. They've been taken to the hospital. The chief medical director said that the army would give a full statement, and that's the most that we have. But I'll narrate what exactly has happened. Now I'm in Morocco area. I was told that this is exactly where the incident happened. Behind me, coming from there is a space basically where the army have, and there is where all the soldiers assembled initially. Now they were coming out in batches, as I'm made to understand. The first batch, second, third, fourth. As the fifth batch was coming out, they were supposed to go on a 15-kilometer route march. Now as they were going, it's when this vehicle drove straight into the crowd. And now I'll walk and I'll show you where this exact spot where it happened. Now the vehicle drove into the crowd, crashing into certain number of persons. We were not given the exact number, but then crashed into the soldiers. One of them was an officer, a lieutenant, and he too was lifted off the floor by this vehicle based on the information that we had. As at the time, there were no casualties immediately on the spot, but here right now where I am standing, and you'll see the shots exactly, is where it happened. It's been covered now with sand, but you can still see pieces of the vehicle. These are pieces of the vehicle's light when it crashed into those soldiers, and parts of the vehicles got broken. These are still pieces of the vehicle. I think we have clips of that particular vehicle, and I hear that the vehicle has been confiscated and has been taken into custody by the military police, or they call them MP. The two gentlemen who were in that vehicle, one of them a dreadlocked young man, and then a second gentleman, have also been taken into custody. Sadly, I was made to understand that one of the soldiers, a young lady, has eventually given up the ghost and she's passed away at the military hospital where we went earlier. We also hear that there are fractures. More than 15 of the soldiers have fractured parts. They are being taken care of in the military hospital, but so far that's all the information that we've been able to gather. Of course, because it's something that has to do with the military, not many people have wanted to speak. The information I have are from soldiers who were here, but of course they too are not authorized to speak to the press. So we're waiting for the official statement that will be released by the army eventually.
A devastating fire outbreak occurred at a fueling station in Dutango, Jigawa State on Thursday evening, causing widespread damage and panic. The incident happened at around 8 p.m. when a fuel tanker exploded while offloading fuel at the Shakutu fueling station along Kiyawa Road. Eyewitnesses described the scene as chaotic, with people running for their lives. The fueling station and several nearby properties were damaged, but unfortunately, or rather fortunately, there are no reported deaths so far. The Jigawa State Police Command, through its spokesperson SP Shiisu Adam, confirmed the incident, saying that they received a report of the fire outbreak at about 8 p.m. Now, a witness identified as prosecution witness D has testified in the ongoing trial of Tukur Mamu, the publisher of Desert Herald newspaper at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The masked witness was led in evidence on Thursday by David Kaswe, a lawyer to the Attorney General of the Federation. Mamu is facing trial on a 10-count charge bordering on alleged terrorism after he was accused of aiding and negotiating with the terrorists who attacked the Abuja-Kaduna train in March 2022. He was accused of collecting $120,000 in ransom payment on behalf of Boko Haram terrorists responsible for the train attack. He was also accused of exchanging voice notes communications relating to the hostages with one Baba Adamu, a Boko Haram spokesperson. However, the Desert Herald publisher pleaded not guilty to the terrorism charges. Welcome back. Now, the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, Abia State Branch, has suspended its 3-week-old industrial action. Now, in other news, I beg your pardon, we'll start that from the top again. In a press In a press statement signed by the chairman and secretary of the body in the state, Chinedu Eze and Chibueze Nwachukwu, the state government has paid full outstanding salaries using the judiciary workers' salary structure, as well as implementing the minimum wage. The statement further expressed hope that other issues agreed upon in the MOU will be implemented according to further strengthen the judiciary and enhance justice delivery in Abia State. The State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Ikechukwu Uwana, had assured that the union will resume work once they receive their full payment.
The agreement the government reached with JUSUN is multi-pronged. It's not just based on the payment of the new minimum wage, which has already been effected. Why I say already effected is that, as some of you may be aware, members of the judiciary yesterday received the first part of their payment. I think that's payment for November 2024, and the rest to be paid. They will receive the money for the rest, I think today, before the close of business today, they'll receive the money for the rest. So that is to say that the payment process has commenced.
Now, in recent years, cybercrime has taken a dangerous turn, with cases of online fraud, misinformation, hacking, and identity theft becoming more prevalent. One recent case that has sparked public debate is that of activist and journalist Omoyele Sowore, who was reportedly accused of cyberstalking and defamation. His case underscores the increasing scrutiny on digital activities and the potential consequences of violating Nigeria's Cybercrime Act.
Cybercrime in Nigeria has evolved from basic internet scams to more sophisticated cyber offenses, including financial fraud, cyberstalking, and identity theft. But how aware is the public about cyber offenses?
Illegal activities on the internet. There was a time when Twitter was banned, you understand? Then when the federal government released it, I saw a lot of rules. I read the rules. So I knew if you post a lot of things that are wrong, even wrong allegations can lead to, you understand?
Cybercrime is in my opinion, is any crime that is committed over the internet with anything digital.
Let everybody be accountable for whatever they post online, because this will reduce the issue of cybercrime.
The 2015 Cybercrime Act prescribes penalties ranging from heavy fines to imprisonment for offenses such as hacking, cyberstalking, and online harassment. However, concerns have been raised about the selective enforcement of the law, particularly in cases involving journalists and activists. A notable example is the case of Omoyele Sowore, a Nigerian activist and journalist who is currently facing legal proceedings related to alleged cybercrime offenses.
It's not very good for the global image of Nigeria, It could go a long way in damaging the reputation of Nigeria. Nigeria at the moment is struggling with the reputation crisis. Everywhere you go, most Nigerians are not treated well because they have been profiled as criminals. That should not be the case.
Legal analysts emphasize the importance of distinguishing between legitimate digital journalism and cyber offenses. While laws must be upheld, there is a growing call for a balanced approach that protects free speech while punishing cyber criminal activities.
From the Cybercrimes Protection and Prevention Act of 2015, one of the penalties attached to it is, if you have been sentenced, if you have been convicted and sentenced, you risk serving a jail term of about 7 years, and at the same time, you also risk paying a fine of 7 million or both.
Cybercrime remains a major concern in Nigeria, with authorities intensifying enforcement. While legal measures are necessary to curb fraudulent activities, the application of these laws must be transparent and fair. All and sundry are advised to stay informed and exercise caution in their digital interactions. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Bettina Nwili.
Now, reactions are trailing the recent cabinet reshuffle by the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Muftrang. In a press statement signed by the secretary to the state government, Samuel Jatau, the governor gave no reasons for the development, but wished them well in their future endeavors while immediately appointing their replacements. Now, News Central's Chizabanyanwe has more.
On the 4th of August 2023, the 5 affected commissioners from the Ministries of Budget and Economic Planning, Youth and Sports, Tourism, Science and Technology, as well as Commerce, alongside 14 others, were inaugurated and urged by Governor Caleb Mutfwang to join hands with his government in developing Plateau State. 18 months after, the state governor decides he needs to rejig his cabinet.
This is a sign and some kind of caveat to those in authority to tighten their belts, to do the needful, to work in the interest of Plateau State, to support His Excellency in dishing out the dividends of democracy to Plateau people.
The commissioner is also quick to speak on the expectation of the governor from the new commissioners.
They should know that this is the time for growth. They should know that the land is green. They should key in and socket into the mandate, into the vision, into the philosophy, mission of His Excellency Barrister Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang.
A cross-section of residents of Plateau feels the move, which is the governor's first since assuming office, is a welcome development.
The reshuffle yesterday was timely, and Plateau citizens will expect that the new ones that are coming in will definitely bring in new ideas.
It's a lesson for them. In the future, when an opportunity is given to them, they should sit up. And for those coming in, I advise that they should actually serve as expected.
Like the governor said, he wants to see performance. He wants to see credibility for people to feel governance. I think that is the essence of it. To me, it's a welcome development.
With opinions of people in the state, expectations are actually high for these new commissioners that will be coming on board. They are expected to bring in novel ideas that will cause more developmental strides in the state. In Jos, Plateau State for News Central, I am Chizoba Aniuwe.
The 5th Lake Chart Governors Forum entered day 3 with civil society organizations and other development partners urging government in the region to adopt a unified digital tracking system to monitor human movement and address the proliferation of arms. Stakeholders are equally calling for an end to the menace of drug abuse, which they say has become a burden too heavy for the society. Now, the federal government has donated 30 million naira to the families of the late Pa Taiwo Akinkunmi, designer of Nigeria's national flag, nearly 2 years after his passing. The check was presented by the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Lanre Isa Onilu, and Oyo State NOA Director Olukemi of Afolayan at Akinwumi's residence in Elebu, Ibadan. Pa Akinwumi, who passed away on August 29, 2023, at the age of 87, was honored for his remarkable contribution to the nation. Isa Onilu emphasized that the donation was not payment for his service, but a gesture of appreciation for his lasting impact. The national flag, designed 64 years ago, remains a symbol of Nigerian unity and pride. Nigeria's First Lady has donated 10,000 professional kits to midwives across the north-central states of the country. The First Lady, while making the donations in Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, says that over 54,000 midwives have also been trained out of a projected 120,000 as part of efforts to aid maternal mortality in the country and improve service delivery to expectant mothers. Here, Amadine Uyi tells us more.
According to available data, Nigeria accounts for up to 30% of global maternal deaths, with about 1,407 deaths per every 100,000 deaths. Many believe more needs to be done to end this trend. The First Lady of Nigeria, in a bold move to tackle this problem, has donated 10,000 professional kits to midwives across the north-central states of the country.
I am honored to officially flag off the distribution of 10,000 professional kits to midwives in the north-central state, namely Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory.
The event, which held at Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, had in attendance several high-ranking officials from the state, including the state governor. The First Lady says that training interventions are also being carried out for midwives and health workers to improve their capacity.
This is to complement the ongoing federal government retraining exercise of 120,000 frontline health workers nationwide. I am informed that the 54,346 health workers have already completed their training, and that is why the Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, procured 60,000 branded scrubs and 60,000 cloths as an incentive to encourage and support the tireless dedication of our midwives.
Others in attendance commended the gesture, saying it will improve service delivery and care for pregnant women.
This general support of providing 10,000 professional kits will undoubtedly empower midwives in the North Central Zone with the motivation to deliver quality and compassionate care to mothers and newborns.
Today's event, the presentation of 10,000 professional kits to midwives in the North Central Zone of our country, is not just a symbolic gesture. It's a significant stride towards strengthening the capacity of midwives and advancing the goals of sustainable development.
The provision of these kits will not only ensure that our health workers are well equipped to perform their duties, but also send strong message of solidarity and hope to those who are devoted to protecting the health of our mothers and children.
The First Lady says that the gesture is part of the federal government's Renewed Hope Initiative. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Now, the federal government has commended the United States for approving an emergency humanitarian waiver that allows people living with HIV to continue accessing treatment funded by the U.S. government across 55 countries, including Nigeria. A statement signed by the head of public relations and protocol of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS appreciated the U.S. government waiver, noting it was mindful of the potential change to foreign aid in the near future. The U.S. Department of State recently announced a 90-day funding freeze for all foreign assistance, including for funding and services, emergency plans for AIDS relief, the world-leading HIV initiative. But the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS on Wednesday stated that the U.S. government approved a waiver that allows people living with HIV to continue accessing treatment. And the Lagos State government has assured the residents of accessibility and also affordable medical goods to improve their overall well-being. The assurance was made known at the unveiling of the new pharmaceutical warehouse in Kapa, Oshodi area of Lagos State. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
The Nigerian pharmaceutical market is a growing one, with over 70% of medicines being imported, according to Pharma West Africa. This is due to lack of pharmaceutical warehouses responsible for effective and secure distribution of medical goods. It is on this premise that the Ministry of Health under the Lagos State government commissioned a pharmaceutical warehouse to provide high-quality drugs that helps improve general well-being of its citizens.
It's just an assurance for our citizens of Lagos that whatever products they get from us in Lagos State to them in the public sector or even in the private sector, they are good quality drugs. They're not fake, they haven't expired, and the components that make up the drugs have not been altered, so they're getting the real deal.
If we have this and we have the right technology with it, which we've already deployed as well, it means we're not going to get things being expired while there's stock under newer things. We're going to be able to effect a first in, first out policy, and things won't expire on us. That saves money, and it also saves people taking things that have expired.
Pharmaceutical warehouses play a critical role in the supply chain, connecting manufacturers with healthcare providers. Experts therefore emphasize the importance of the new warehouse in providing affordable and accessible medical goods to residents.
We have the human resources to do the analysis. So before anything even gets to the supply chain of the
of the state government, we can analyze the medicines. So from this end, there can never be anything like fake or counterfeit medicines getting into circulation from this end.
It's going to make it make drugs available, high quality drugs, access to drugs for all general hospitals, teaching hospitals, and even the private sectors. They will be able to access drugs at affordable prices and access generally, quality and access to drugs.
The country's healthcare system largely depends on medicines to function, and the opening of the warehouse will foster safe storage of medicine required to meet the citizens' health needs. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola.
Abia State Governor Alex Oti on Thursday presented 5 armored personnel carriers to the State Police Command. He said the purpose was to adequately equip the police in Abia State for crime fighting. The governor, during the handover ceremony at the government house in Umuahia, said it is important to refurbish the old carriers that have been abandoned for years instead of procurement of new ones. The Commissioner of Police, Danladi Issa, while taking delivery of the vehicles, assured of increased tempo in the fight against all forms of crimes in the state using the incentives they have been provided with.
Just about maintenance. So, our belief is that never again would we allow our assets to dilapidate in this state. A lot of things we throw away, they can be easily fixed, and we have demonstrated it. So I will charge the men that will use this to ensure that they are used carefully. And if there's anything that needs to be repaired, repair it quickly. Because if you don't, you will spend 2-3 times to repair it.
For the world, what the police needs is there are tools to work with. And in your understanding and magnanimity, you have always stood solidly behind us to create an enabling environment for us to work so that we can have relative peace in the state. We want to thank you. And we want to promise that these APCs are going to be judiciously used.
Welcome back. Now, residents of Goma in eastern DR Congo are living in fear as fighting between Congolese soldiers and the Rwanda-backed M23 armed group continues. The conflict has left the city scarred with bullet-riddled buildings and looted, burned shops. Local resident Louis Faraha is pleading for assistance to prevent them from starving to death. Since the M23 and Rwanda forces entered the city on January 26th, over 100 people have been killed. The fighting has cut off electricity, internet, and severely limited access to essential medicines. As the situation worsens, residents are urgently calling for international assistance to prevent further suffering and starvation.
Ingali tena mingi zaidi sababu hatuyakuwa stable, hatuyajua kama tuko mkia wapi na hatuyajua kama marenyo zabo ziko naongea kule wale wakubwa juu, hatuyajua kama wanaishia mpaka wapi mpaka leo. Sababu na radio zote wanazifunga, hatuna hata formation moya na hatuko sasa tuko mbato haina pilote mpaka leo.
Tulikimbia vitu vyote, hatuna tena nguo kuvala, chakula tuko nasikia njala, tunataka kufia mnyumba na watoto njala. Hatuna maji ya kukunya, hakuna kura, na sasa tuko tunagonjwa mnyumba, tunakosa dawa. Mtusaidie kabisa, mtusikilie huruma juu tukibakia hivi tutakufa shibo wote na manjala.
Tunaendelea kusikitika, tunasikitika sababu vitu vingi vinapotea, watu wengi wanafariki. Lakini kwa leo tunaomba serikali wala serikali mpya tunakuja nayo itupatie amani, turudishie vitu vyote. Mai hatuna kura, mpaka saa hii tungali naogopa kutembea.
Amani yetu tunatafuta amani kuwe. Sisi population hatuna na ofu, tuko na susia amani kuwe. Batengeneze Goma yetu kwa kisi na kuwaka. Batusaidie sana, hili ndio tunaomba.
A hospital in Goma, eastern DR Congo, is overwhelmed with injured patients following intense fighting in the city. now seized by Rwandan-backed fighters. Sisibe Abdurrahman, a surgeon with the International Committee of the Red Cross, described the situation as chaotic. The hospital, initially equipped for 146 beds, is now caring for over 200 individuals who are injured. The influx of patients has put a massive strain on the hospital's resources, with medical staff working around the clock to provide emergency care. The situation remains dire, with no end to the fighting in sight.
La situation actuellement est chaotique. En 3 jours, nous avons reçu plus de 400 blessés. De janvier à aujourd'hui, nous sommes à plus de 1000 blessés pour un hôpital d'une capacité de 146 lits initialement. Actuellement, nous sommes à plus de 200 blessés hospitalisés à l'hôpital. La majorité, c'est des cas rouges, des blessures abdominales, des blessures par engin explosif. Exemple, hier, nous avons fait 7 laparotomies. Et il y a eu des jours ici, nous avons fait 14 laparotomies, qui sont de la chirurgie abdominale. C'est des multiples blessures, des blessures des viscères et des chirurgies qui peuvent prendre pas moins de 2 heures de temps.
Has announced plans to bolster its defenses in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo following increasing security concerns in the region. The move comes amid ongoing instability in the DRC, with armed groups including the M23 rebel faction continuing to threaten both local and neighboring countries. Uganda's increased military presence is seen as a precautionary measure to safeguard its borders and enhance regional security. Authorities have not provided further details on the scale or timeline of the development, but the announcement signals Uganda's commitment to addressing the volatile situation in eastern DRC. The Sudanese army has announced the recapture of Rawaba, a key city in North Kordofan, on Thursday from the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The RSF has held the city since May 2023, located 480 kilometers southwest of Khartoum. Rawaba sits on a vital highway linking central Sudan to the region. The army claims to have cleansed the city of RSF forces, marking a significant victory. The battle for Sudan continues as Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan fights against his former ally, RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. Recent army advances include regaining control of key areas in Khartoum and Wad Madani, signaling growing momentum in the ongoing conflict. Burkina Faso's army, supported by civilian militia, have successfully repelled an attack on the northern city of Jibo on Thursday as armed groups attempted to breach the blockaded city. Local residents reported heavy gunfire, particularly from the northwest entrance, before the situation was brought under control. The assault, attributed to jihadists linked to the al-Qaeda-affiliated group for the support of Islam and Muslims, targeted military positions within the city. Although no official casualty figures have been released, locals confirmed there were victims. Jibo, surrounded by armed groups, has faced repeated attacks, and its neighboring town of Seba recently received its first aid supplies in 6 months. Burkina Faso continues to battle rising violence linked to jihadist groups. Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we talk about the mishap in Washington airspace. We'll be back. Now, Russian authorities confirmed that Russian figure skating couple Evgenia Shikova and Vadim Numov, 1994 world champions, were among those killed in the Washington plane crash. Inna Yelanskaya, a former competitor of the Soviet Union, also lost her life in the crash. According to Maria, a spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, the identities of the victims have been confirmed. Zakharova also mentioned that a fourth person, possibly a Russian citizen, was also on board. A group of Panamanian students are staging a protest in the capital just 2 days before U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visits, marking the first stop on his Central American tour. The protest comes as Rubio prepares for his first trip abroad since taking office, where he is expected to discuss President Trump's agenda. Among the key issues is Trump's vow to assert greater control over the Panama Canal. The students, however, voiced opposition, expressing concerns over U.S. influence in the region ahead of what could be a tense diplomatic visit. The protest highlights the growing unease over U.S. policies in Central America. Business now. The South African rand strengthened on Friday, supported by rising precious metal prices and a hawkish tone from the central bank during its monetary policy announcement the day before. By 8:25 GMT, the rand was trading at 18.56 against the dollar, approximately 0.3% stronger than its previous close. A significant boost came from gold prices reaching a record high, benefiting South Africa, a key gold producer. Although the South African Reserve Bank lowered interest rates as anticipated on Thursday, it highlighted the uncertain global environment and modeled the potential effect of a trade war. Some analysts suggest the SARB may be done with rate cuts due to its cautious approach. Meanwhile, the top 40 index on Johannesburg Stock Exchange rose by 0.2%. Sports now. Manchester City will face Real Madrid in the high-stakes Champions League playoff clash, with Celtic take Bayern Munich for spot in the last 16. City secured their place in the knockout phase after a 3-1 victory over Club Brugge in their final league phase match. The reward is a showdown with 15-time European champions Madrid, marking the fifth two-legged tie between the clubs in the last 6 seasons. Madrid ended City's title defense last year, winning a penalty shootout at the Etihad in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Celtic will battle Bayern Munich, now managed by former City captain Vincent Kompany, in a tough contest as both clubs aim to advance to the next round. Real Sociedad will face Midland, while AS Alkmaar take on Galatasaray in the Europa League playoffs round, with a potential last 16 tie against either Manchester United or Tottenham at stake. The draw conducted today confirmed the matchups for teams still vying for a place in the next phase. British clubs Rangers, United and Tottenham have already secured direct passage to the round of 16 after finishing in the top 8 of the Europa League group stage. Meanwhile, Porto, who narrowly advanced to the playoffs, will face Roma in one of the standout ties. Elsewhere, Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce will host Anderlecht. The two-legged playoffs are scheduled for the 13th to 20th of February. And that's all the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories that we brought your way. PDP governors meeting Asaba insist on internal democracy. And suspected drunken driver rams into soldiers during morning drills in Lagos. We also told you that Goma residents fear starvation amid attacks by M23 forces. Now, do remember you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.